Hi, welcome to Sugar Free. This is the tarot for Monday, the 14th of December 2020. Now, I know it's a special day astrologically with a total solar eclipse, but I'm not qualified to really say anything about that. This is my second attempt to do this reading because I was getting confused about whether things were, not whether the cards were the right way up or not, or in reverse or in the upright, but how that was then showing on the camera because of where I had the camera placed. So I've moved where the camera is, so I'm hoping we'll have a little bit more simplicity to it this time. So Major Arcana reading using the Ancient Italian Tarot for Monday the 14th of December 2020. Right, Temperance in the reverse. The Star. Beautiful. Well, change is certainly afoot. No question of that. And Hierophant in the reverse. Okay, oops. Oh, look. Sorry. Still getting my setup set up. Right. Okay, well, collective expressions of belief, spirituality, morality. Basically, there's a new code coming in. New code, and it is about the collective. But there's also something deeply personal here, with the star here in the middle. There's a willingness to make ourselves vulnerable. And that entails a degree of faith that has not come easy. And I see that from Temperance in the reverse here. Because the Temperance card is about sort of self-containedness. Because we don't see in the Temperance card, we don't see where this fluid comes from. We don't see where she got it, and we don't see where it flows out to. It's just self-contained within those two jugs that she's pouring one to the other, and it's very still, and it's like a closed circuit sometimes. But this has the closed circuit has opened because we've moved from the two jugs containing very tightly and with no spillage, that fluid moving backwards and forwards from one side to the other. We've moved from that to this, where the kit has come off. We're not a supernatural entity anymore with these wings. We're not an angel anymore. We are a human, and we're a vulnerable human, a naked human out in the night, in the dark, under the star, pouring and pouring and pouring of our faith, our love, our vulnerability, our spirit into this body of water that flows and flows and flows. And we do that in confidence that it will never run out. That's the faith. No matter how much we pour, there will always be more. We don't need to hold it inside anymore. And this release of the spiritual leads to a whole new paradigm in terms of how we operate together, how we operate collectively on the spiritual front. Because the Hierophant is like the externalized, publicly codified moral and spiritual, because the moral and the spiritual are deeply, deeply connected. The moral, if you like, is the way that we try to explain and, in a sense, structure the spiritual. Because, I mean, the basic moral code, we all know what it is don't kill, don't lie, and don't steal. That's the basic moral code. We all know it. Every child from the age of 4 or 5 knows that that's the code. And they don't only know that's the code because they've been taught that that's the code. They know that's the code because they know it themselves. Because by that time they have experienced the distress that comes with having one of their toys taken away by another child or by an adult. They know how that feels. So that moral code is already there. It's innate to us. And when that moral code is broken, it's on the spiritual that it hurts us. And one of the great spiritual questions is, why do people do what they do? Why do people break the code and hurt other people? That's, and the other great question, of course, is why do we die? What happens when we die? But that's what the spiritual matter of us is concerned with. Why do people break that? What leads people to break that? And what is the upshot for breaking the code? We have our religious systems, and we have karma, and all these ideas about what the consequences are. And that's what is embodied in the Hierophant. But with this release here and this move from the internal to the external, from the holding on tight here to the spiritual in the Angel of Temperance, and this is ended, and it's just like, no, just let it flow. It's just flowing and flowing and flowing, because no matter how much, as I say, no matter how much she pours, there's always going to be more. It's a whole new way of seeing spiritual matters, and it is on the collective. It's not only individual. The individual aspect of it is the High Priestess. When it becomes codified, written down, and recognizable and repeatable, that's when it becomes the Hierophant. But it's in the reverse, so there's something new. The old way has gone. We've kind of poured it away. Events have seen it pour down the drain. Events have seen it be poured away. There's no need to hold on to it. And the more we try to hold on to it, I mean, what would become of her sitting out there like that, naked, in the dark, if she held on to it and tried to keep it in the jugs? What good would that do? Let it go. Let it flow. Of it, there will be more. There's nothing to hide, nothing to hold back, nothing to keep secret, but nothing to sort of necessarily really like blather on about either. I mean, she's got 2 jugs there, not a megaphone. So let's see what else we get. Judgment. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So following on from the Hierophant in the reverse here, and this new moral code, I don't know what else to call it really. What comes with that is a great big collective, again, global hiking out of things. Because when a change of this nature comes, when this fluid is released here in Temperance in the reverse, and poured and poured and poured, because it need not be limited in the star, and we have a whole new way of looking at things on the collective, that means things have to be reassessed. Judgment in the upright here, it has to be reassessed. And there's always a process with these things. When the world shifts, when the thinking and the kind of the whole notion of being in the world, and the relationship between the juxtaposition between being an individual and being one of the collective, when the scales shift on that and it changes, and I'm seeing this halo here around the Angel of Judgment, so you can't really see it. I'm seeing that halo there as something to do with the moon. When that happens, when a change of this on this scale occurs, it means that everything is called into question. Everything has to be reassessed. And that's what the Judgment card is about. It's card number 20, just before the end, you know, before we reach the final card, the World. And it's when we've gone all the way through on our karmic adventure, all the way through the tarot cycle. And just before we get to the end, we just have to just stop and make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. And if there's anything like hidden under the carpet, behind the curtains, shoved at the back of the cupboards, it's all got to come out before we can move on to the fulfillment of the world. Right, that nearly jumped, but I saved it. Let's see what it is. Okay. Hanged Man in the reverse. So yeah. Right, this hoiking out of the karmic cupboards involved in the Judgment card here, that is a natural process in the context of the other changes we see here on the table. It's not going to matter, Hanged Man in the reverse, it's not going to matter which way you look at it. That's looking at it the old way, okay? That's looking at it the old way, and the old way is coming to an end. And the Hanged Man is about stepping out of the action, out of the karmic action, and kind of setting ourselves off to one side for a while, choosing to put ourselves in an unusual position, so we have an unusual viewpoint on things, in this case upside down, so we can get a different angle on things, because sometimes that's really interesting to do and really useful to do. But here it's in the reverse. So those old paradigms of the ways that we weigh things up, the ways that we have been accustomed to weighing things up, the kind of categories that we draw things into, the hierarchies of value that we use, that we apply to our lives, to our own thinking, to our own inner world, and to our collective functioning, they've gone, and we see that in the Hierophant in the reverse. So this, for this particular energy here, this is kind of, it's over. This look at it this way, look at it that way. It's like they've all gone, they've all been swept away, and that, you know, might be somewhat uncomfortable. What else was I going to say about this? Yeah, it doesn't matter which way you look at it. It really doesn't. You know, this release has happened. The fluid has left the two jugs. It's pouring into the open. We have a new way of codifying our spiritual functioning on the individual and on the collective. And it means that everything has to be reassessed in the Judgment card here. And it doesn't matter which way you look at it, Hanged Man in the reverse, this is happening. Let me see, I'm just going to get one more and see if I can crown this off. And as I say, the ways that we have been accustomed to kind of categorizing what we see as this or that, look at it this way, look at it that way, their relevance is melting away as we speak. Okay. Right. Empress in the reverse. This is very new. The seeds of this fluid that has moved out from the closed circuit of the Temperance card into the flow of the star card and all the implications that come with this. This fluid is still soaking, and it's going to take a while. It's going to be soaking into the soil of our souls for a while before the seeds thereof begin to sprout and germinate. And that's why we have the Empress here in the reverse. You know, this is big change. We see that certainly from the Judgment card. When collective beliefs and collective moral codes are reassessed, in terms of the mass on the macro and within the micro, and the whole system we had, Hangman in the reverse here, of kind of categorizing what we think is this and that is that. When that shifts, it takes a while. It's look, it's like the ground breaking open, and we see that here in the Judgment card, with the ground breaking open, and the contents of the graves like opening up. The ground is opening up. When that happens and the fluid flows onto that freshly exposed ground, the growth that will not come straight away, you know, because it takes a while for things to settle down again before we see the green shoots that come to the soil of a new world. But make no mistake, my friends, that is what is coming. Right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for another reading. Namaste.